Good evening, viewers. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Kabata, and I want to look at the business aspect today. In this channel, we try to look at what is happening in the economy, and we try to scrutinize the business data and try to see some of the topics or some of the headlines that were there and what they may mean to our people, especially the consumers and also the Kenyans who are around. And therefore, I want to go straight to the business data today so that we can be able to dissect some of the topics that were there today. And as you can see there, the business data today had so many topics there. So the first topic there is KRA falls further below target, collection blaming shillings and interest rate. So we have a situation where the collection by the KRA are still going down. And as you can see, although in the month of the November, the revenue increased by 180 to 180 billion, or by 15%, we still have KRA not meeting the target that was put there. And as you can see there, the total collection from July to November was 963 billion, which is actually higher than what was collected last year. And they are saying that the reason as to why it is higher is because of the petroleum levy or petroleum tax that was added there, the 8% petroleum tax that was added, the VAT in petroleum that was added. But if you actually scrutinize some of this information very well, if the country has collected 963 billion in the first 5 months, and you actually had about maybe 200 billion in December, then you see that they will have collected about 1.1 trillion within the first 6 months. It tells you that in the next 6 months they can only collect similar amount of money. So it tells you that by the end of June next year, the government cannot collect more than 2.3 trillion or 2.2 trillion, between 2.2 and 2.3 trillion, which is actually a very, very, very big gap of what they had targeted, a collection of 2.7 trillion. So we are talking about a situation where the government is not able to collect as much as it envisaged, and some of the reason given there is the harsh economic times that are pushing businesses not to do well. And one of the things that you need to understand is that when the businesses are not doing well, then what is going to happen is that they will make less profit. And when they make less profit or have less turnover, the other thing that is going to happen is that they will pay less taxes. And I think that is one of the challenges that we have. The other challenge that they are talking about is the interest rate. Anytime the interest rate are increased, what happens is that loans becomes more expensive for the businesses, especially the SME, small, medium enterprises. And if they cannot be able to get money easily, or they cannot be able to get loans easily, then what is going to happen is that they are not going to be able to expand. And when they are unable to expand, then the collection from the government will also be low. So we are actually looking at a government that has increased taxes, but even after increasing taxes with higher margin, they are still not able to collect what they envisage to collect. And those are some of the challenges that we usually have, that usually come especially when you increase taxes on consumer goods, and the consumers, because of the consumer behavior, try to look for other ways in which they can be able to survive in such a condition. So the other issue, in fact, if you read that one, you still can go back and read this other one. Middle class turns to salary advance as economics. So you can see what is happening. The middle class are the people who consume. And because they do not have money, or because most of their money has been taken, the disposable income has been taken by taxes, what has happened is that they are actually going for salary advances. And it means that they are surviving. They are actually living from hand to mouth. Now, when the middle class starts living from hands to mouth, then it means that the consumption of goods and services is going down. And when the consumption of goods and services go down, then you are quite sure that what is going to happen is that we will have also less taxes that are going to be available for the for the government. So that is another story that you can actually read between and actually do what we call compare it with what is we have there as a headline, the KRA for falling of the of its target. So you can also go further and look at this other one. And you know why KRA is not actually collecting what it envisaged to collect, that the excise taxes hit on reduced beer cigarette consumption. So what has happened is that the people who consume cigarettes and also beer, they have actually reduced their consumption basically because the price increased, and because the price increased, then they actually went for the cheaper beer, or they actually did away with it. So excise taxes on beer and cigarette, the core product under the tax category, are on the negative trend, reflecting a slowdown in consumption. That is what it has been, even as revenue from other products under the same tax segment increased. So an excise tax is charged on the sale of particular goods and services. So by increasing the excise duty on cigarettes and beer, what has had what it the impact it has right now is actually a negative impact, where we have reduced consumption of beer and cigarette in the country. Now, with that, you can understand why we have a situation where KRA cannot be able to collect enough money even after the increased taxes and also the excise duties, the VAT and all that, basically because people have curtailed their consumption. So that is what usually happens, especially when you increase taxes on consumer goods. So the consumers will look for other ways in which they can be able to survive. And by doing that, then it becomes very difficult for the government to also hit their target. So we expect some of these things to continue as long as the consumers are feeling hard beaten by the increased taxes. And I think the other thing that we have also seen from some of these a similar trend is that majority of the companies have started reporting profit warning, meaning that even them, they actually have a problem, especially when it comes to sale of goods and services. And because their sales have reduced and their costs have increased, then their profit has also reduced. And also this has a big impact on the tax revenue that is collected by the government. So we need to look at those things in tandem, and therefore by looking at them in tandem, then we can understand why even today we have a KRA that is still having a problem of collected as much as they envisaged, basically because of the challenge of low consumption of goods and services and low disposable income by the middle class, and therefore reduction in the consumption of goods and services. So thank you very much for listening to me. I just hope that I have explained some of these things in a better way, and I hope that you understand what is happening in our economy and also what happens, especially when you increase taxes on Kenya. So thank you very much and have a nice evening.